The misty forest. In the depths of a forgotten forest, where reality blurs into myth, lies a story that chills the bone. Follow Ella, a curious soul drawn to the unknown, as she discovers an old, decrepit house in this eerie woodland. What starts as an exploration turns into a night of unrelenting terror, unveiling secrets that should have remained hidden. Journey through the misty forest, where each step uncovers darker truths and the line between the living and the dead becomes hauntingly thin. This tale of suspense and horror will leave you questioning what lurks in the shadows of the unknown. In the deep recesses of a forgotten forest, where the mist hung like a ghostly shroud, Ella stumbled through the underbrush. Dusk had set in, painting the sky in hues of deep purple and grey. The trees, ancient and gnarled, whispered secrets in the wind, their long shadows reaching out like fingers trying to entwine Ella in their grip. She had heard stories of this place, tales that sent shivers down the spine of even the bravest souls. Yet, curiosity, that insidious whisperer, had led her here. As night began to cloak the forest in darkness, Ella's eyes fell upon a structure hidden amongst the overgrowth. An old house, its once grand facade now ravaged by time, stood silently. Its windows were like hollow eyes, and the gate creaked on its hinges as if moaning in despair. The air around it felt colder, denser. Ella, driven by an inexplicable urge, pushed open the gate. Its screech seemed to pierce the very soul of the night. The house greeted her with a breath of stale air. Dust danced in the beams of her flashlight, and the furniture lay draped in ghostly sheets. In the eerie silence, her footsteps echoed, as if someone, or something, was walking beside her. The house seemed to be holding its breath, waiting. Then her light flickered across a door, slightly ajar, as if inviting her to the secrets it held. Ella's fingers trembled as they pushed the door open, revealing a small study. Amidst the clutter of old books and papers, one book lay open, as if it had been waiting for her. The symbols on its pages were unlike anything she had ever seen, swirling and shifting as if alive. A sense of dread washed over her as she realized these were not mere ink and paper. They were something else, something ancient, and not meant for mortal eyes. Compelled to explore further, Ella found herself in a long hallway. The lights flickered as if struggling against an unseen force, casting monstrous shadows on the walls. She could hear faint whispers, growing louder with each step. Shadows seemed to detach from the walls, slithering along the floor, creeping closer. Ella's heart raced. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but her feet carried her deeper into the heart of the house. At the hallway's end, a figure materialized. It was a ghostly apparition, its form blurred and shifting. Its eyes, dark voids of despair, locked onto Ella. The air grew colder, the whispers turned into wails. The ghost, a lost soul, reached out to her, its mouth opening in a silent scream. Ella stood frozen, terror gripping her heart. Regaining her senses, Ella turned and ran. She sprinted through the hallway, the wails of the ghost echoing behind her. The house seemed to twist and turn, trying to trap her within its cursed walls. But she pushed forward, driven by a primal need to escape. Bursting out of the front door, she didn't stop to look back, her breath coming in ragged gasps. As she reached the safety of the forest clearing, Ella dared to glance back. To her horror, the house was no longer there. In its place was an empty field, as if the house had never existed. She realized then that the house was not just a structure. It was a manifestation of something far more sinister, a place that existed between realms, preying on the curious and the brave. And she knew, with chilling certainty, that it would always be there, waiting in the mist, for its next visitor. Fugitive in the night. In the underbelly of a forsaken town, a tale unfolds that intertwines crime with the supernatural. Meet Jack, a fugitive on the run, whose desperate search for a hideout leads him to an abandoned home shrouded in darkness. But this house is no ordinary refuge. It harbors sinister secrets and ghostly echoes of the past. As Jack confronts the hauntings of this forsaken abode, he finds himself facing not just the ghosts within, but the demons of his own making. This gripping narrative blends horror with a poignant reflection on guilt and redemption, revealing that sometimes our greatest fears lie within. In the dead of night, a figure dashed through the rain-soaked streets of a forgotten town. Jack, a notorious criminal, was on the run, his heart pounding in his chest. With the police hot on his trail, he needed a place to hide, a haven to catch his breath. That's when he saw it, an old, abandoned home, its windows like soulless eyes, its door ajar as if inviting him in. Jack slipped inside, the door creaking ominously behind him. The house was shrouded in darkness, its air thick with the smell of mold and decay. As his eyes adjusted, he noticed the remnants of a life once lived. Photographs with faces scratched out, furniture draped in sheets and a layer of dust coating everything. The silence was deafening. As he explored the upstairs rooms, Jack began to hear faint whispers. Dismissing them as the wind, he continued, until the whispers grew louder, morphing into hushed voices. They seemed to be coming from everywhere and nowhere, words indecipherable, but their tone sinister. Jack's bravado faltered. This was not the haven he had hoped for. In a dust-covered bedroom, Jack's gaze fell upon a large, ornate mirror. As he looked into it, he saw movement behind him. Whirling around, he found nothing but an empty room. When he looked back into the mirror, a shadowy figure stood beside his reflection. Its eyes were hollow, its smile a gaping maw. Jack stumbled back in terror, his heart racing. Breathless, Jack fled from the room, the corridors of the house twisting and turning in impossible ways. Doors slammed shut behind him, trapping him inside. He could hear footsteps, not his own, chasing him, always just a step behind. Desperate, he searched for a way out, his mind reeling from fear. As he ran, the house seemed to come alive. Walls bled, figures appeared and vanished, and the air was filled with the scent of decay. In this moment of horror, Jack realized the truth. The house was feeding on his guilt, his sins manifesting into physical form. He was not just a man on the run from the law, he was running from himself. Cornered, with nowhere left to run, Jack faced his pursuers, not ghosts but reflections of his own misdeeds. In a moment of clarity, he understood that no physical escape would free him from the burden of his actions. With a heavy heart, Jack emerged from the house as dawn broke, surrendering himself to the awaiting police, seeking not just punishment but redemption. As the police led Jack away, he looked back at the house. For a moment it seemed to shudder, its windows flickering with ghostly light, and then it stood silent once more, waiting for the next lost soul to take refuge within its walls. Thanks for watching. To support us, please like and subscribe.